Hey yo, you're listening to Toasted Time, where I cook your time with some Reddit stories. Right now, you're being toasted with some r/ProRevenge, where we find out why someone threatened a friend with revenge prawn and how they ruined their whole damn life. A very good friend made some slightly dumb mistakes and sent some pictures to someone that she reasonably thought she could trust. But not knowing much more than his first name, his screen name, and roughly where he lived and the type of work he did, he is not in our country, but had indicated that he would be traveling for work to near us shortly, and that they had made some plans to meet. And when she got some red flags and backed out, the dude threatened to publish these pictures online. I am incidentally, though, an attorney. So, some searching later and gathering up any pictures he sent her of him that could possibly identify him, his online handle led me to his TikTok page, which led me to his Instagram page with his name on it. That led to a LinkedIn page with his place of work that matched a picture he sent with a branded polo he was wearing. And then some more searching got me the email of the CEO, VP or HR, operations manager, and public relations manager. And I just fired off an email on behalf of my client on the screenshots of him threatening revenge prawn. Snippets of the conversation showing that username while he sent that exact picture of him wearing his company's branded apparel. Links to how I know it's him, along with pictures he sent her of his motorcycle with the license plate showing as further proof that it is him. I also included screenshots of him discussing a workplace incident that were time-stamped, along with pieces of dialogue discussing how he had S with an X at his place of work and discussing plans to have S with her in his office as well. I also included a picture he sent her showing his work laptop with his entire Outlook calendar, along with proprietary information which he sent to prove he was busy, along with other pictures he took of his workplace with non-consenting employees. I further informed his employer that I will be forwarding all of this information to local law enforcement, and since he had indicated that he would be traveling to the United States soon, will also forward this to the local office of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, as, since my client is a U.S. citizen on U.S. soil, these threats constitute a federal crime, so that should they continue with his employment and continue with their plans to send him off to the United States for work, I will ensure on behalf of my client that federal law enforcement is waiting for him on arrival, which I will do as one of the assistant U.S. attorneys for this region is a law school buddy of mine. Since I have his license plate number, I know where he lives, and I will be contacting the local authorities tomorrow. You dumb mother effer, thinking you were hiding around anonymously, thinking you could threaten my friend. It took me 45 minutes to destroy your life. And then someone down below, who goes by Ren Games, sums us up pretty nicely. I feel like you win 2024. Legit revenge? Check. Person's life now super effed? Check. Done in record time? Also check. And then also down below that is from Rafster929. And OP is a lawyer that used tools from their profession. That's a pro-revenge check too. And then further down that is a comment from PartyRing445, which sums it up pretty kinda nicely. Pro bono revenge. Could not say that any better myself. And now, on to the next revenge. Got rude guy arrested for suspended license. In the mid-2000s, my friends and I would frequent a small billiards place in a neighboring town where you could rent a table by the hour or per game. We'd play a few games, watch whatever sports were on TV, and have casual conversations. There were No problems and no drama until about 3 months of us visiting this place. A guy shows and takes our spot at the billiard table. No big deal, we were all chatting anyway, and 20 minutes later, my friend lets him know that we want to play next game, and the jerk is super dismissive. Needless to say, we didn't get in during the next game, so I politely let him know we wanted to play the next. Another lady chimed in she wanted to play the game after us, and the guy blatantly ignored me and the other woman. And some more time goes by, and the guy leaves the table. We see our chance to get in, and we put the quarters in, and the balls are dispensed, except for the green 6 ball. The guy took it to the bathroom with him, and at this point, it was ridiculous. And we notified the manager. The manager noted it was 12:30 and they were going to be calling last call and closing, so he didn't want to make a scene by kicking him out. He got us another ball so we can play. The guy comes out of the bathroom and knows we realized what he did. And he smirks and proceeds to the patio to have a cigarette, bringing along his beer and the green billiard ball. The guy then comes back in and tossed the ball he was holding onto the table, hitting a few balls on the table and messing up our game. And then he goes up to the bar just in time for a last call. One of the friends I was with suggested we follow him home and each call the highway patrol to report a suspected drunk driver. 3 of 4 of us agree, so when he leaves we used our trusty Nextel push-to-talk phones and coordinated several calls to the police. We provided details like license plate, vehicle make and model color, and mentioned the car nearly hit another vehicle, was swerving between the lines and driving erratically. And this was a under 15-minute plan. We had no idea where the guy lived, but suspected it was close as he was visiting a neighborhood place, so our time was limited. The guy who didn't notify the police tailed the jerk and called us giddy when a police officer pulled between him and the guy and turned on his lights to pull him over. The police blotter that week included an arrest of a guy who was pulled over after multiple calls of erratic driving. He wasn't arrested for a DWI, but instead for driving on a suspended license. I think the crazy thing is, like, why? Why do you do this? Why do you steal a billiard ball for no reason? Why? Just, like, I mean, I guess, yeah, just to be a jerk, but why? What's the purpose? Why? Like, you just want to be an a-hole for the sake of being an a-hole? That's so weird to me. I don't get it. But I guess at the same time, I'm not weird, perhaps. I'm just a typical person, I guess, maybe. But, like, I don't know, it seems really pointless and dumb. I don't get it. Anywho, on to the next one. And for the last ProRevenge enthusiast form of prawn, we have steal furniture, almost lose her job. So, my dad owns a house that he's been renting for some time now. The tenants that live there were, for the most part, decent people who my dad thought were trustworthy. That all changed about 2 months into the tenancy when the tenant refused to pay the month's rent. My dad showed some leniency and gave them another month to pay up what was owed, but they didn't pay a thing. By this point, my dad, frustrated by the whole situation and being 2 months out of rent money, offered them a deal. Leave the house ASAP and then only pay half the money owed. They countered with a different agreement. They would leave the house in a clean state with all of their furniture left behind as compensation. My dad, wanting to just be done with them, agreed. Cue to when my dad gets to the house, finding the place a mess, with none of the furniture left behind, including the furniture that belonged to my dad in the first place. The 2 sofas that my dad owned were left behind, but they were trashed and left in the shed. When my dad confronted them, asking for them to pay the full amount that the furniture was worth, he was met with a promise of payment after 2 weeks, which he didn't believe, and when he requested that they pay earlier, he was met with a good luck on getting your money. followed by laughing emojis. This made my dad angry, and he decided he wasn't going to let this slide. My dad knew that the tenant was a Christian pastor of a church, and his son also had some job related to the church. My dad contacted the church and explained everything from how they hadn't paid him rent money to stealing the furniture and trashing the place. The church was somewhat interested about his behavior. And the next day, my dad gets an angry phone call from the tenant's son cursing at him and asking him what he thought he was doing, contacting the church saying he was being unfair. My dad hung up the phone on him only for him to attempt to ring 10 more times after he hung up. From what we could piece together, the church had told the pastor that if he didn't settle things with my dad, him and his son would lose their jobs. My dad received the full amount for the furniture that same day and agreed to back off. My dad later said it was never about the money, but the way the guy treated him and his values. My dad, being a Christian himself, was disappointed. And I'm not gonna lie, someone down below actually points out something I've never heard of before. Granted, I wouldn't really know. Maybe I would, but I've never heard of it. But apparently from NerdGirl71 says, odd, the church usually pays for the residents where I come from. Guarantee they were receiving money from the church and pocketing it. Now, if I'm to weigh in this on my own personal level, this is something that this is one of the issues within the whole entire Christian community. If you go into my other channel that I have called Toasted Ideas, I go over a lot of like Christian stuff on myself because I am Christian, but this is not Christian behavior. I don't know what to say. This just isn't. You're meant to be honest, and they're being completely dishonest. It's a virtue to be honest, and the pastor is doing the exact opposite. It's a bad example of Christianity, a terrible example of Christianity, period, end of statement, it just sucks. I don't know. I mean, they're doing everything opposite of being Christian. They steal, they're pillaging, leaving it a trashed place, and they're just lying, period, end of statement. It sucks. It puts a bad mark on Christianity, but I don't know. Anywho, well, that's about it for those stories today. But if you enjoyed, please like and subscribe to become a fellow bread bag. But aside from that, of course, I hope to see you in the next time toasting session. But until then, have a good one.